Welcome to Here Comes the Boom, a KSR and KSR Plus recruiting podcast, your go-to for all Kentucky basketball recruiting. We've got a good show for you today. We've got some updates on some five-star recruits that Kentucky's going after, and we're going to have On3's Jamie Shaw on the show in a little bit. Before we get into that, let's chat for a second about our good friend Andy Ludicky and My Perfect Franchise. Are you a displaced corporate executive or wanting to put your career in your own hands? Or are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Well, Andy Ludicky and MyPerfectFranchise.net can help. Andy is a huge college sports fan and franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using his expertise, he helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Call Andy, put your life and career in your own hands. Best of all, his services are 100% free to you, so what do you have to lose? Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net. All right, let's get into it and talk about some of these five stars that Kentucky's going after. The first, a very familiar name, someone we talk about basically every week on this show, Caleb Wilson out of Holy Innocents in Atlanta. Still has not set a commitment date. His dad told KSR Plus that he would not be committing at Hoop Hall, which runs starting today through the 20th of January. However, there has been some talk about maybe an announcement being announced at Hoop Hall. That being a commitment date potentially could be released during this Hoop Hall tournament out in Massachusetts. So be on the lookout for that. I still expect a decision probably sometime this month, if not very early in February. I think we'll get some clarity on that very soon. Really, the two schools that we continue to hear with Caleb Wilson are Kentucky and North Carolina. My thought process hasn't changed. I still feel like Kentucky is in the driver's seat. We had Joe Tipton on last week saying that he felt the same. My RPM on the On3 recruiting prediction machine continues to be Caleb Wilson to Kentucky, but we will have On3's Jamie Shaw on the show in a little bit to discuss what he's hearing, because he recently put out a story saying that he thinks UNC might have the upper hand here. So we'll get into all of that. But there's another five-star that Kentucky's going after that we haven't talked as much about on this show, five-star forward Nate Ament. He just dropped a top 11, I believe, bear with me, we've got Arkansas, BYU, Duke, Georgetown, Kansas State, Louisville, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, and, of course, Kentucky. A lot of schools. So I feel, from what I'm hearing, it seems like Kentucky is just kind of waiting this out a little bit. They haven't set a date for a visit. I'm not sure how actively they will pursue him if they are to land Caleb Wilson. However, if Caleb Wilson were to go elsewhere, I would think that they would really ramp things up with Nate Ament. Tons of schools involved, a lot of time left in this one. He's taken at least two visits next month, I believe, to Kansas State and Duke. But I would expect more visits to be added onto that. All right, now let's bring on 3's national basketball analyst, Jamie Shaw, to talk about some of these recruits. Welcome back. I'm now joined by On3 national basketball analyst, Jamie Shaw, to talk about some Kentucky targets, and we're also going to talk about fan stake. Jamie, thanks for joining me today.
Jacob, man, it's always a pleasure to be on your airwaves.
So let's start by talking about fan stake, this new NIL platform, which has gotten a lot of attention because of Nate Ament, who dropped his top 11 and now has a deal with FanStake where fans can bid on their team to be the top bidder for Nate Ament. So can you just kind of explain the basics of how this works with FanStake?
Yeah, so it's a fan-driven platform, from my understanding. Obviously, this is my first time hearing about it with the Nate Ament thing, and when we dropped the top 11 yesterday at On3, I had a pretty quick indoctrination to the company. But what it looks like is a fan-driven site to where fans of schools are able to put their money toward where they want the said prospect to go, and accumulate that amount of money throughout the process. And whichever school he picks, the prospect gets to keep that money from that school as an NIL offer.
And Nate Ament is really the first big name recruit to partner with Van Stake. So what kind of impact do you think this could have on a player like Nate's recruitment?
I think twofold. The first fold being that I think that it sees how much, interaction, how much the fans you get to see that type of love from people. Secondarily, though, I don't think it has much impact on a decision overall as to where he's going when it comes to the amount of money one school fan base puts forward in that manner. I don't know how much of an impact it'll have overall, but I do think it allows the player to see the fans and the interaction and all that type of stuff of where the love's coming from.
And Nate is really the first big name recruit to sign on with Van Stake. Is this something that you could see other top recruits starting to do?
It's so new. It's something that we haven't seen this type of thing before. Going in, sure. I mean, I don't see why not. You look and see what it is with Nate. I mean, he's already got probably $20,000 or so dollars through the various fan bases already in his already signed up for him. So, and that's just after 24 hours of being live with it. So, he's going to go another month or so with his recruitment. We'll see how much money accumulates within the fan bases, but possibly. I mean, it's something that it's an interesting concept.
Well, you can learn more about Van Stake. We have an interview with their founder over on KSR Plus, so go check that out. Now let's talk about some of these 2026 Kentucky targets and really how they've been playing this season. I want to start by asking about a five-star guard, Caleb Holt. I know Kentucky's been after him pretty hard, so how has he been playing this season?
Caleb transferred from his base school in Alabama up to Grayson in Georgia this year, and he's getting acclimated to the new team, the new players, the new environment, traveling on a little bit more of a larger scale for his games. He's a player who understands the game. He is a two-way impact guy, big, strong, physical frame. He's able to defend, becoming more comfortable on the ball, and becoming more comfortable as a shooter. His game is developing and rounding out with this move, and he's been playing high caliber talent against and with high caliber talent throughout the season.
Well, Caleb hasn't taken a visit to Kentucky yet, but he did tell me that Kentucky's assistant coach, Jason Hart, is expected to be in to see him next week. So maybe we'll see things ramp up there shortly. Another guy that Jason Hart has a good relationship with, Jason Crow. What have you seen in his game this season?
Jason Crow is a fascinating one, and I encourage fans watching to kind of check in with what he's been doing in his high school career. So far, he's a junior, 3 years of high school. He scored over 1,000 points each season in his high school career, on track to continue to do so as he moves forward. That would just be I haven't seen it before. I don't know if it's happened. I haven't done the research on it, but to score over 1,000 points each year of your high school career, starting from freshman, sophomore, and on, is monumental type stuff. It's unbelievable production consistently. Crow's a left-handed, about 6'2", 6'3" guard, deep range. He's already had 50-point games this year on high stages, and he's just able to go manufacture buckets. He's got a smooth feel for the game. He's, again, like I said, deep range on his jump shot, good footwork with his ball handling, and good feel snaking his way through traffic and getting into open spots on the floor.
Well, like we've said for a lot of these guys, it's super early with Jason Crow's recruitment, but you got to like where Kentucky stands in the early stages, given that Kentucky assistant coach Jason Hart is lifelong best friends with Jason Crow's father, Jason Crow Sr. So they've had that relationship for quite some time, and they've been on Jason for basically since the beginning of his recruitment. Now, Caleb Holt, Jason Crow, neither of them have been on campus at Kentucky yet, but somebody that's been there twice so far, Anthony Thompson, he recently visited for Kentucky's game against Florida. Jamie, what have you seen in Anthony Thompson's game this season?
The thing with Anthony Thompson that pops is the projection, the projectability that you have within his frame. He's still kind of thin, but he's got unbelievable length, and he looks like he just continues to stretch out when it comes to growth. But the shooting is very real with Anthony Thompson so far through about 20 games this season. He's shooting close to 50% from three, taking about 7 or 8 threes per game. And the shooting really was the genesis of why he took a jump into the top 10 in this past ranking update that we did with On 3. The projectability of what he has, his IQ feel for the game, but really the shooting with his frame, with the projectability of what he does, the positional size, 6'7", possibly continuing to grow with unbelievable length. So he's one who's still young. His frame still looks young, but he's continuing to grow into it. And you can still see with the skill base that he has, the shooting range, the IQ, the feel, another step in there for him as he continues to move forward.
Well, Anthony visited for Big Blue Madness. He visited for a game this season, and he told me that he wants to come back for another visit. So this is clearly someone Kentucky is making a priority and building some strong inroads with. Jamie, thank you again for joining me today. It's always a pleasure having you on. We hope to have you again soon.
Are we not talking Caleb Wilson?
Oh, that's someone that we probably should talk about because you put out a pretty interesting report the other day saying that you think that UNC is gaining some traction there. We talked about him earlier on the show. Jamie, what are you hearing with Caleb Wilson?
Well, kind of speaking with sources all around the recruitment. On the Kentucky side of things, there's still confidence within the Kentucky program as to where things stand. They've been confident in my sources speaking with them throughout the process. They've been confident for the last couple of months or so, and continuing. Nothing has veered off or changed within those conversations that I've had on the Kentucky side of things. But continuing to speak with the sources kind of all around the recruitment over the past couple of weeks, there has been momentum built around UNC. I think it's pretty well known or understood from people around it that it's Kentucky, UNC are the two schools that are heavily involved. And it sounds like there's a possibility things could be coming to a head pretty soon. He's always mentioned in speaking with them, it started off February, January-ish time frame, and then it moved up a little bit to a December, January time frame. But then he kind of, and more recently speaking with Caleb, locked in on a January type of time frame. So there's still a couple more weeks left in January, but it sounds like something could be happening a little bit sooner than that, trending toward that direction. But speaking with the sources I said on the Kentucky side of things, it sounds like Kentucky's still got confidence in it. However, speaking with sources around the whole, around the totality of the recruitment, it sounds like UNC has picked up some pretty some momentum over the past week or so.
Well, I think we can both agree, like you said, Kentucky and UNC are the two favorites for Caleb Wilson right now. I'm still hearing Kentucky is in a good position. I haven't changed my RPM over on the On3 recruiting prediction machine. So we'll see how this all plays out.
I've been close on both ends, putting one in on both sides. Still haven't been able to put one in just yet. Still getting, like I said, they're still getting stuff on both sides of things right now. So, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but it does seem like something could be sooner rather than later.
Well, Jamie, thank you again, and we'll see you again soon.
Jacob, always a pleasure, man. I really appreciate it and keep doing a great job over there at KSR, man.
My final thought today is about FanStake, the new site that Nate Ament has reached a deal with, which is basically a competitive recruiting platform, which we talked about, allowing fans to contribute directly to an athlete's NIL deal. I'm not sure how much staying power this has, but I think that especially for a player like Nate Ament, this could have some impact on his recruitment. So I find it very interesting and something to follow. Thanks for joining us today. Be sure to go and subscribe to KSR Plus. Go and subscribe to the KSR YouTube channel. We're going to have tons of great content coming your way.